my name is Robyn Williams, and I started this sport in 1984. My husband and I had an opportunity to live in Georgia. We moved from northern Alberta, and we moved to Georgia in 1983. Bruce saw this really cool advertisement about triathlons.
Robyn, for you, why Muncie every year? How many years?
Well, we moved here from Toronto in 1998, and ironically enough, when we were living in Ancaster, just a small town outside of Hamilton, friends of ours would come down and do Muncie, and we're like, Muncie, the Endurathon, and we actually heard about it in Canada. It had quite a reputation, really good race, longest running race, and then we find out we get transferred to Cincinnati.
Mike, how about you?
I've been doing tries since 2012 was my first year. I went through prior to that, I went through a big weight loss journey. Lost 150 pounds in 6 months. Got me into running, hurt my knee, bought a bike to do cross training, doctor's recommendation or whatever. I swam as a child, so I knew how to swim. Not very good, but that's kind of what took me into triathlon in 2012. Did my first half on a whim at Cedar Point that year in 2012. And then 2013 would have been my first full in Louisville. But anyways, that's kind of how I got started with tries, just kind of staying healthy, being more fit, exercising, keeping my weight down, because that's a big thing for me, just trying to stay healthy. So everybody you talk to in the sport has a story. You find that, I think you find it more in the longer distance stuff, because you have an opportunity to talk to people during the race, especially if you're struggling. You might walk or even run with somebody for 10 miles, you'll strike up a conversation with them, but everybody's got a story, so that's why I love it so much. So.
Do you mind me asking, what prompted you to go on a weight loss journey?
But anyway, so my family friend passed away from breast cancer. I'm sitting around, ready to, I don't know, do what to myself, and I had a problem I could fix, and she never did, and she was always the most positive person I ever met. So that was one of the biggest things, and she was, Mrs. B was her name, Laura. But anyways, and then work was another thing. I'm a police officer. I couldn't really function at work very much, being overweight, and I had a call at work one day that it was a simple car break. To me, it's a simple call. I take thefts from vehicles every day, and but to someone who it happens to, it's a serious thing. And I walked up 2 steps to this person's apartment or her house, and I was sweating and breathing heavy, and the look they gave me just cut through me like a hot knife through butter, and I was just like I'm worthless and can't help them, So that image is still in my head today. So it's, those 2 things were the best. And I did get my back looked at, and I had 3 herniated discs, which the doctor said lose weight and they'll go away, or you can have surgery. I chose not to get surgery, but I gained weight instead. So the next couple of years were just worse. So all of those things kind of was my reasoning. And I had an athletic background. I played football in college, so I knew I could do it. It was just a matter of starting.
Ironically enough, the first year I did Muncie, I did not finish because it was so hot, and I wasn't used to that heat, I did not start because Muncie had incredible storms. This thunderstorm just came in, and there was a tornado strike, and it was just crazy. I've had my personal best at Muncie. It was like I finally had a breakthrough where I finally put everything together. Everything just came together. It was really sweet. And then ever since then, it's more of a, I don't know, social event. It's just very close for Cincinnati. There's so many people that go there and do it. Even though Ironman has taken over, it still has that community flair after the race. It's a lot of fun. So last year was a qualifier for Nice. Now that Ironman brand is doing more races, and they have qualifying spots. So Muncie actually is a good time to qualify because it's still pretty early enough in the season, and they have what they call roll downs. So even if you place 8th in the age group or whatever, some people might not jump on board for the qualifier. Now this weekend in particular, it's the first race as a qualifier for New Zealand. So that's kind of one reason why I kind of wanted to do this as well.
It's a very supported race. I believe we run by a firehouse too, and they always have the hose going or whatever, and keep them cool. But yeah, I think just being so local, and the number of people that I love going to races where I know 40 people that are doing the race, because that's you need that kind of energy as you're going through the day. You know, it's just, it's fun, you know, it's a blast. So it is typically pretty hot there. I've gone through races there where it's been wetsuit legal, and a couple where it's not been. But now biking has become my strong suit, and I'm very attracted to the Muncie course because it's flat and fast, you know, so that's why I like it. So, you know, that's kind of what brings me back here all the time, and it kind of holds a special place in my heart too. Is, you know, I've had a couple of milestones in the Muncie race. You know, it was kind of my first Ironman event, kind of, and it was, you know, first time, you know, I went under 5 hours, first time I went, you know, under 2:20 on the bike, you know, so it's got some milestones in it. So I'm hoping this year it's going to be a little bit cooler, I think, than last year, but I'm hoping that it's kind of the first time I beat the heat. So that's kind of what I've been focusing on, you know, kind of those first things. So.
Maybe that should be the tagline, beat the heat.
Yeah.
It's it's Midwest July heat, so it's going to happen.
Yeah, a couple of different things with the swim start. They've changed direction. So in the past, we've kind of gone out, we've always made right-hand turns and come back, but you're directly into the sun. So when you turn around that last buoy and you look and you're looking for land, you don't see land. All you see is this incredible sun, and it blinds you. So people are typically all over the place. So this year what the organizers have done, they're going to try and switch it. So now when you leave, you're going to be actually having the buoys on the left-hand side. We're going to have a longer segment where we're going to go out in the lake a little bit longer, which was actually probably better. And then when you turn around, come around, you're going to be having the buoys on the left-hand side. They're saying you won't have as much sun, so I'm still not sure. We're still probably going to get some sun, but I don't think it's going to be quite a direct impact with the sun. Hopefully at this point in time, you actually know what your estimated swim time is going to be. And what they're doing is they have 27 to 30 minutes, and then they go 30 minutes to 33 minutes, and then they go 33 minutes to I think it was 36 or 35 minutes. So it's an honor system, so you want to actually get yourself in that group where you know that swim time is going to work for you. And it is different, so your pool swim time is going to be different than the lake time. It's going to be different again because this will probably be a non-wetsuit swim, so you know, give that some consideration. The other thing is it is congested, so even though there's 3 or 4 people going every 3 to 4 seconds, there is some congestion, so just be aware of that. What I do, and I've been doing this for a long time, is I actually look at the buoy ahead of me. You want to make sure where you're swimming, and I count my strokes. So if I start feeling any anxiety or I start kind of losing, I get that feeling of, oh geez, you know, I'm not sure about this, I settle myself down and I actually start counting my strokes. So I go 1, 2, 3, you know, and I'm a bilateral breather. I actually breathe on both sides. But when I'm focusing at that buoy, so right now I'm just looking at a fence post for now, but so I'll go 1, 2, 3, and then I kind of lift my head up just to make sure I'm still on target. Then I put my head back down and I just count. And it's almost like a mantra for me. So I just count every 3, and I kid you not, it calms you down and it settles you into the stroke, into your kind of your natural swim style.
And Robyn, the other reason that's smart is at the start of a race, your heart rate's going to peak.
Yeah, and that's just a normal thing. You just have this. First of all, you do get anxious. I mean, when you start swimming, you're probably going faster than what you're normally swimming, so your heart rate spikes. I had an experience at Steelhead, and I haven't had that experience in a while, where all of a sudden my heart rate just jumped. It went so high, and I think with the wetsuit too, you kind of have this tugging in the wetsuit, and I couldn't catch my breath. So really what I did, I just kind of moved over, I just treaded water. I said, what the heck? Calm down, Rob. And then I kind of got back into it. So I did have a moment, which hasn't happened in a long time, but it happens. The other thing that I actually do is I do a warm-up swim. So I do jump in the water before, and I do a couple of like sprint 150-yard sprints just to kind of take that edge off. And then when I jump in for the actual event, I've already had that feeling of, okay, I've had that feeling of fast swimming for a short period of time. So that helps.
It's a 2-loop bike course when you get out to the main portion, so there's really not a lot of turning, honestly. But anyways, the first part's a little bit technical. within a few miles, I guess. But anyways, if I don't remember the name of the road, but I know there's one portion where you kind of go underneath. I think you go underneath a bridge, and then you turn. You kind of go back into this neighborhood, which takes you off onto the highway that you ride on. That place can get a little congested. It's not part of the 2 loops, but depending on where you're at when you start the bike, you know, if you started later or you're going to exit the water later, you'll have a little more congestion. There's always a lot of people there. If I remember right too, they always tell you in the athlete briefings too, you know, your race is not decided in this half mile. A lot can happen in this half mile. You could wreck into somebody not paying attention, et cetera, et cetera. I won't lie, I have passed people here before, but it's not smart. Okay, just if you got the space, just wait 10 seconds. That's not going to make or break your bike split.
Well, and you bring up a good point. So, you know, the timing on the course, right? So you can make that time up. It is a fun bike course. You got some down and some momentum kick up. It's a 2-loop. Tell us any tips or thoughts you have on a 2-loop speedy course like this one.
Yep, correct, and completely. So they just close it completely down. There's no cars out there. The only cars are support vehicles, you know, Ironman officials and stuff like that, and then the bikes. But anyways, it's 2-lane highway. It's closed. Road conditions are pretty good, if I remember correctly. There's the profile online says there's about 1,100 feet. On
a flat course. There is some drafting going on. So you just, again, if you're, you know, on your bike, someone's passing you, you should know they're passing because they've probably said on your left, so you know someone's passing. And as they pass you and they get ahead of you, you're the person, you have to drop back. There should be at least 6 bike lengths between that person in front of you and your front wheel. There's supposed to be 6 bike lengths. And it does get hard on a course like this because it is a 2-loop course and it does get kind of congested. So again, you really have to be aware of your surroundings. Just do your own race because it just, you know, you're going to be frustrated and it's out there. But
if you happen to have one of those big groups, or they'll call them pelotons for those of you that know the cycling lingo, but just be careful because I had a friend crash I believe it was a couple years ago in Ironman, Texas. There was a big problem with the drafting, and he got hit by one of those groups and crashed.
Yeah. So you really have to set yourself up for success on the run because the run's going to be hot. So if you're not getting your nutrition in, and Mike, talking about calories, if on a flat course, you have a tendency to want to push harder. So what does it take to push harder? It's going to take energy. Well, where does the energy come from? You've got to have the calories. So if you're not consuming those calories, if you're not hydrating on that bike, by the time you get off the bike after 56 miles and maybe, you know, you're looking at your watch, you're going, oh my gosh, I got my PR already, this is awesome. But if you weren't paying attention to your nutrition and your hydration and you start running and then you start going, oh, okay, I feel great for the first 2 miles, then over time you're going to start seeing the wheels fall off. So really, on the bike, you've got to think about that nutrition and hydration because halfway through the run, that's where all those calories and all of that's going to make an impact.
Yeah, and to piggyback that a little bit, obviously I've been, you know, religiously watching the weather this week, but it's probably when you start the bike, you know, it's probably only going to be maybe upper 60s, low 70s, not horribly hot, you know, to normal standards, but it's going to be a little humid, but the sun's going to be out. So a thing I do, and Robyn probably does this too, or you see people doing it when I go through the aid stations, and I believe there's 4 of them, I think, I grab one of the sport bottles of water that they do, and I only use that to spray myself down with water. It keeps me cool. If it were hotter, I mean, I would, you know, I'd be doing it as much as I could, but I always grab one if there's nobody there, and I grab one, I just douse myself with water, I don't even drink it, and then I grab another one right at the end, and then what I do is I have a sport bottle already in my bike, which I'm using prior to the aid station,
right.
And I ditch the one that I started with, and then I just replace it with one from the aid station. So,
and watching some of the pros, you know, if you ever watch transitions, or not just the transition, but when they go through the aid stations, the pros, it's like they're constantly, they've got the water, they've got this, but they're always moving, just like what Mike was saying, you know, they've got the water on the head, I put ice down my sports bra. This is the advantage of women in sport, because you can put ice in your sports bra. It's awesome. So I do it in the front, I put it in the back, because you want to keep your core cool, as long as your core is cool, that really helps too.
And then just to touch real quick on the bike, like aid stations, and this again is a safety thing. You will have people that don't really know what they're doing, what to do when they go through the aid station. One, somebody's going to still be going 25 miles an hour through the aid station. Somebody's going to slow down and stop at the first guy who's holding out of water. So you have to use, if you don't need to use it, go to the left and pass everybody. If you do, you slow down for 5 seconds and grab what you need, or pull off and stop.
I personally like just the one loop. Everything's fresh and new. When I get to that turnaround in Muncie at 6.5 miles, I'm coming back home, and I know I'm coming back home. I'm going to the finish line and I'm done. So I can start playing mental games with myself, going, okay, I can push harder because I know you're going 6 miles, 5 miles, 4 miles, and then it's so sweet when you know you only have a 5K left to go, and you're almost there.
Yeah.
So
in the Muncie course last year, they repaved. I don't know if it's quite half of it, but there was some fresh blacktop last year on the run course, and it was hotter last year. So it's going to be pretty toasty on the run. You know, she mentioned the shade. You know, a lot of times if you see the shade coming, maybe kind of angle yourself to run through it. A few seconds of cooler temps will help a little bit.
Right.
You know, I mean, utilize the ice and the aid stations, the sponges, shove them wherever it'll go.
and there is that one hill at the end.
Yep. You know,
You get over the bridge,
Yep.
and then you have that one incline before the finish,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh my gosh.
It's always kind of killer, but there's always you know hundreds of people standing right there. You
Right,
know,
they're all cheering you on.
They're
almost wise. Like I said, it's going to be hot, but it's probably considered more of a rolling type
It's
course.
rolling.
It's pretty, and you heard them talk about the hill at the end, you know, right before you finish. You know, so I think it's a little over 500 feet or something elevation. Percent of the time, I will drive the bike course unless I know it. I've done Muncie enough, I know it.
Yep.
Yeah, I do too.
If I'm there early enough, I'll ride the run course as a easy ride before the race, or drive it.
Yep.
You know, just so you're familiar with the turns and potholes, whatever is on the course. You'd be surprised what your mind remembers when you're coming to that on your bike.
Right.
So it's
Absolutely.
very, very helpful to do those things if you have the time. I mean, you don't always have the time, but I mean, I usually make sure I do. So
Right.
it just helps, and it helps you calm down. I mean, the race director, those of you all that are on Facebook, look up the Muncie group. But the race director's been doing a bunch of live videos the past couple months. But it's the same thing. I mean, you come up. I'd say it's probably one of the longer runs.
It's a longer.
The first coming out of the water, you go up this gravel path. They will have like carpet or
They have
something
carpet.
down. It is still a little rough on your feet, but it just be careful. I mean, it's fine.
Because the day before you can drop off the bike. So typically when I register and once I've dropped off the bike, I actually do walk the transition. I go from the swim to the bike to know exactly where I'm going in and out. And then I also kind of work the bike to the run, and then I just kind of walk through it and just to make sure, and I double check where my bike is. Always nice to have a marker. Typically, sometimes I might even look where the porta potty are. You know, maybe my bike is right across from the porta potty, so I have like something else that I can kind of landmark where that bike is. That really helps.
If there's ever the opportunity that I don't have to check it in the day before, I always keep it with me until race morning, just because I don't know, I like sleeping with my bike, I guess, I don't know. but do it when there's no bikes there, like when you check in. Look for a trash can, edge of a porta potty. Some people will have their family member stand at the edge of the transition. Okay, there's my wife. You know, my bike is on this row where my wife is.
Backing up my bike, and I kid you not, the bike just one space beside mine, same bike, exact same bike, but I kid you not, it was the same saddle, same handlebars. The only thing that was different was the color of my tape at the end. Mine was red. Every race is going to be different. There's going to be things that you never thought you could have done before, and you're doing. I mean, especially to the first timers, just enjoy it. I mean, it's got to be fun. I mean, I've been doing this sport for a long time, and honestly, I really like the training. I love the people. I like encouraging people. I'd rather be the cheerleader. Especially on race day, I'd rather be the person cheering. I'm probably. I like that part of it, and just to have fun, just to enjoy it, and learn, take back. And then so if you have a good day, yay, good for you. Even if something went off, it could be mechanical or whatever, just learn from it, and then pick up again and try another one, because every day is different.
Of us do it. You know, most of us are not getting paid, you know, to do this. So, you know, let's go out there and enjoy it. I love the atmosphere. Like I said, I love Muncie especially because there's so many people that you know from Indiana, Ohio. I mean, they're just all over. You you'll always recognize faces. You know, and it's just a blast. I've been one who's gotten a flat tire before, and I completely let it destroy my race. You know, the rest of my race. You know. So just don't get stressed out. If something happens, just take it in stride, get through it, and push on to the next one, because that's how you get stronger in races. You learn from, I don't want to say mistakes, but you learn from the stuff that happens, and it makes the next one that much more better.
No, but I do have a pre-race meal I have to have.
Do tell.
It's either 2 days or a day, and this is going to
Okay.
sound totally off.
That's right there.
It's steak and a baked potato. That is my go-to meal. It's weird. I don't know what it is. It's like, and then I get kind of like, I gotta find a restaurant that has a steak.
Thing I do that's kind of different, and I'll tell you a funny story too. I always have to have a piece of carrot cake the night before a race. I'll eat my dinner, I'll wait an hour or so, and then I'll eat cake. So I had a good race one time. I think it was early on, maybe late 2012 or something. I had a pretty good race after I ate this piece of carrot cake, and ever since I have to track down a piece no matter where I go.
Thank you guys.